Hello and welcome back for another tutorial. I hope you enjoy it, and don't forget you will find links to our website and other important stuff in the description below. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and you can come join us in our group on Facebook, which is Natalie's Cake Studio. Just search for that on Facebook. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you soon. So I'm going to do a little rose, so not a giant one, just a fairly small one. I am of course using our flower paste, which is available on our website. Haha. So I'm going to roll and cut a single petal for the middle, and then two fives. Fives like this. No, who does five like that? Five? No, two fives. And oh, that's so funny. And then we will make a rose. Yes. There we are. I'm going to be quite liberal this evening with my cornflour because everything, myself included, is a little warm and a little sticky. So yes, so we've got a single petal for the middle, and then I will roll and cut out two fives, and we're just going to do a wee one. No. Also, if you do that, I'll have absolutely no idea of knowing which things are on which side of me or whatever. Right, hang on, let's get him flat. There we are. Just pop him on my petal pad to wait. And if he reaches a sensible conclusion, I'll send him to get deck of cards. Right, what are we doing? Okay, rose. So I'm going to pop these onto my petal pad, and I'm going to use a ball tool to go around the edges. So we're just going around, and you can see we're after that sort of light frill and wave. You don't want to make it super frilly. But yeah, sort of a nice wave to it. So we'll leave this one like that, and that's for our first lot of petals that we'll do. I'm just going to do the same to the second one, and I can feel this, even though our paste usually has the most drying time in the world. It's just so warm that yeah, I can feel it dry. Sorry, I'm just giggling because I think Mary obviously has the caps lock on, and it's making her look very enthusiastic about the Star Wars playing cards. Which, you know, that's understandable also. So we are just curling our petals back, and the trick to this, don't curl the sides like that. So that's one mistake that folk often make, is you do it like that and you end up with this funny kite shape. You just turn in the semicircle at the top there into like a triangle-y shape by curling them back. So this one that we're pre-curling now will be our second row of petals that we put on. So we have those, and then I'm going to ball tool that single petal as well. So the way I do the roses with the rapid rose, they always go sideways. So we want to ball tool around the top there, like so. And you'll see why it's sideways in just a moment. It does make sense. And then just need a little bit more flower paste. So 9cm cutter, 20mm polystyrene ball. So that's just 2 centimeters in diameter from edge to edge. And this one I've used a hot glue gun to put it on a bit 20 gauge wire. And the first thing that we're going to do is take just a little ball of paste. It's about the size of a chickpea, give or take. Roll on the one side to make a little cone there, and we're going to squish it onto the top of the ball like giving it a little pixie hat. So I'll just wet this, and I'm just going to squash that on there. So I'm not going to go into loads and loads and loads of detail on this, because Chris, do you want to find that same link of the ivory one? Because we've done it a bunch of times, including with plenty of detail. So I don't want to send those of you that can do it to sleep, but equally for anyone who would like to know more, we are of course happy to provide that. So I'll turn the petal over. And like I said, this one's going to go on sideways. So we wet the bottom on it like that. And if I give it just a little wibble, find the sweet spot. It's about there. Yeah. So that shows. Then you can see the half of it that's wet. Pop that on there. About half a centimetre at the top. And then we bring that first edge across, sort of round and down. A little bit of extra glue there to stick in that top bit, and then that bit comes round on top, and again a little bit of extra glue or water there just to stick it on, like so. And that is how you get that nice little curl in the centre. Right, I'm doing this left-handed, remind me. So the one we haven't curled will pop upside down on our rapid rose pad. Again, I know we've got some new folk, so this is our little green baby. It's what makes making roses really easy. As I said, it is easy. I'm going to make it look slightly less easy than it is because I'm doing it back to front for our left-handed fellows. So we will pop that through there, and then what it does is that, of course, it's holding up the petals so that you can do the work. We're going to use 2 petals to begin with. So we will lift them and attach the one side, spin it round, take the opposite petal, and there's not a true opposite, so either of those will do. Sorry. Attach that same side, so you've got 2 little wings, and then this one comes round on there, and if it doesn't want to stick, which it doesn't, we can use some extra water. It is about 40,000 degrees in here, so everything's drying really, really quickly. We'll bring him round again, and then this one comes on top there, like so. And then once you're at this point, we can then just use our fingers to curl them back and open them ever so slightly. So the biggest difference doing them left-handed or right-handed is which way they spiral. So as a lefty, you end up attaching that side of it, and then they come round this way. If you're a righty, you end up attaching that side of it, and it comes round this way. But that's the difference there. So we're going to do the same thing with the remaining 3. So we'll attach the side of one, the side of the next one, spinning it a little each time, and then finally that last one there. And then that comes on top here. Again, it's all drying out, so we'll have a little bit more water. This one comes on top here, and then that one goes on top there. So then we've got those 3 interlinking petals in the middle there. At this point, we can take the rapid rose pad away, press down the base, and again, we can just use our fingers to gently curl those edges back. And the thing here is that we use the ball tool to give us that slight frill. And when you use the ball tool, it makes things curls towards you. We flipped it over and then attached it, so as you lift those petals up, the curl naturally wants to come away from the centre of the rose. So you can see we'll do that there. And of course, if you've got any adjustments you want to make or anything, then you can absolutely come and do that. Use the Dresden tool. Open things up, close them up, you know, whatever you feel. So that's our little rosebud. Sorry. If you only wanted a rosebud, you can of course stop there, but we will continue with another row. So all the petals we're using the same size. If you use a bigger cutter, you get a bigger rose, smaller cutter, you get a smaller rose. And we're just wetting the middle, line up each edge like we did, which again, let's give that a wibble so you can see. Pop it through the middle. And again, we will start with one petal, lift it up and attach the one side, spin it round a little, attach the next side, and then this open side here comes straight on top. And then we repeat. So that goes just in there, and this one comes on top. That one goes there, that comes straight on top, and then this one goes here, that goes on top. And if we've done it right, then the very last open bit goes on top of the first part that you attached. And again, we can turn it over, press the base down, and there is one rule, one very, very important rule with these. Can anybody guess what it's going to be?
Don't squash the bottom. No, top, sorry.
So you've got the polystyrene ball in there, that's your strength, press that bit on, don't squash the top. If you want them to bloom and you want them to be open and have a natural look, there need to be those gaps in between the rows of petals. It's not going to fall apart. Flower paste is a lot stronger than you think, so just don't squash the top at all. And then again, like before, we can shape the petals as we wish. And for this one, because of what we're going to do with it, I'm just going to come and just open everything up, loosen it off ever so slightly, so that we've got a blousy little fella. Something like this. So when he goes into our design, where are you guys? You guys are straight up there. So it's not going to be head on, it's not going to be quite from the side, it's going to be something like that would be the viewing angle, so sort of half and half, hence having those slightly more open petals. And of course, as many of you know, you can add another row onto that, make him a little bit bigger. But yeah, that's how you do a rose. So that was left-handed, and it's so funny because even looking at this, I'm like, it doesn't look quite right. It's because it spirals the other way than what I'm used to. So just for comparison's sake, see if there's, yeah, this is just an old one that was sitting there. Yeah, can you see they're going back the opposite directions?
Yeah, it's the centre bit, I think.
Yeah. It just, so that truly is the only difference. So you can absolutely do it either way, and neither of them looks righter or wronger than the other. I don't know if real roses have a natural direction that they stick to. I've no idea.
You only notice if one way and one the other way, and they're stuck them together. And even then, like you say,
even then, I'm only noticing because I know it's there because I've just made it, and I know that for me it's back to front. But yeah, I made myself learn how to do it for sake of left-handed students. So there you go. That is your left-handed rose. So I'm going to put this aside to dry, and we will do a couple of other bits and pieces that will go into our design. So yeah, that is how you do a rose with a rapid rose. As you can see, it's very rapid. Right, so we've got some little buds, which we will tape into a thing this shape, because that's going to give us a really nice shape. So these are dead easy to make. Sorry. I've got some 28 gauge wire there in white. And I'm just going to take a little bit of white flower paste. And we're going to use the candle. So the reason for the tea light is that we can, we'll make our shapes, we'll heat up the end of the wire, and we're going to then insert the wire into our bud, and the heat will melt the sugar and keep it solid. So yeah, 2 little buds there, sorry. I'm doing this completely on automatic pilot. So little ball, and then all you do is you just roll gently on one side of it, and that's what gives you the perfect little bud shape there. And they're just wee little things. You can see sort of a centimetre or so. And then we'll heat up the wire. And the trick to, so you don't want, because they're on white, we don't want to burn the paper on the wire. So all we'll do is just wet it, because then that way it will heat up where we put it. You won't have it burning all the way down. And then once it's nice and hot, quickly insert it, and that little puff of smoke and the little hiss is exactly what you want, because that means it's melted the sugar and it's going to stick on there really well and really quickly. So we just pinch underneath, give it a little twist so that we've got a nice smooth base and remove any excess. And then we just want to put some little lines in it. So there's two ways that you can do this. I quite often will just do it with my thumbnail, because you get this perfect little curve going up. And yeah, 3 or 4 of them, absolutely fine. Or we can do it with a cutting wheel or indeed a Dresden tool. So again, I'll wet the wire and heat it up there. Pop that in there, poof of smoke and the little hiss. Pinch the underneath to neaten it up. And then yes, if you prefer, we can do some nice lines with our Dresden tool, or it's quite easy to do it as well if you have one with a cutting wheel. Let's try the other end, because that end doesn't feel like it wants to move. There we go. So yes, you can do it with the cutting wheel as well. One of those, you know, whatever you find easiest. So that's the little buds, and I think I made about 8 or 9 of them, because that should be enough to do a decent sprig. We've got some simple leaves. So the colour for these, I've only made 5, and that's all we need. Like so. In terms of the colour, that's just, it's a mix. It's green with a little bit of our leaf green in it there to just sort of tone it down a bit, because this is a bright, very green. And I have used the Muffle cutters, so they're a set of 5, super useful. And I've used this one, which is the second smallest or 4th biggest, whichever way round you want to put it. And for these, very, very simple, because like you said, we're after sort of shapes and things rather than anything too complex. It's funny how you can obviously, if you're in the circumstance that you need to, especially, you can learn how to do things with other hands. Because of always painting and stuff, I'm fairly ambidextrous and can do things. But then also, I know you are as well, Chris, because as a left-handed person, you kind of have to be.
Yeah, you do. So many, like scissors. I don't use left-handed scissors. I just use right-handed ones.
So my mum's left-handed, and growing up, I always thought that scissors were just blunt. But actually it's because they were left-handed, and so my sister and I would use them back to front. Right, I'll just show you one of these. It's so easy. So I'm just cutting our shape there. We will pop that onto our petal pad. Ball tool around the outside, just to thin it a little. And then we just want a central vein with our Dresden. And then we'll just mount that on a little twiddle. So this is just a technique where you sort of roll a very slim sausage of flour paste onto the wire, and then you attach that to the back of your leaf or petal. And it's just an awful lot quicker and easier than doing it with a veining board. That's what I'm trying to say. So we'll do a little bit of glue on our wire. Dab it on your hand there just so that it doesn't, it's not swimming in it. And then we'll just bring that down. We want it fairly long so that it supports our leaf. A little bit of glue there. And then we will just press that on. And I like to use that straight bit of my little finger there. Like so. Pinch the end shut, and then to dry these, I just sort of let them fold where that central vein was, and then just let them dry like that. So we don't want them too crisp in terms of that fold, but it is good to have some shape on them. Right, so then this brings us to our structural bit. So I've got some green twiggies, which I may dust brown. I may not. We will see when we get there. But I figured it would be easier to dust the green brown than it is to dust any brown green. So all I've done here is I've got some 24 gauge wires, these finer bits, and then some 20 gauge. And I've literally just covered them with a couple of bits of tape. So let's grab a little bit here. That'll do, I suppose. We can have another little one. And for this, I've used the lighter, so it's the Nile green tape that I've used there. So just remember, stretch your tape so that it's opened up. And we will literally just wind it all the way up the wire. Like so. And then when you get to the end, if you just sort of keep wrapping and twisting beyond the end, then you can just cut nicely and you'll get a nice point to it. So some of these bits I've wrapped twice, others I've just done them once. And as I'm sure you'll have heard me say before, to start the tape off, what I tend to do, hold it so that it crosses over the wire, fold it underneath, pincer that in my thumb and forefinger over here, and then you can roll it. So we'll bring this, oh, I've got that where I'd torn it. You'll just bring this all the way up to the top, keep twisting, and then again cut it off. So yeah, I've got some longer bits, some shorter bits, and then all I've done is just crinkled them up at random. And there's often twigs in Ikebana, and if you go Google it, you will see what I've done and the shapes that one's created there. I'll leave these ones straight. We'll play with those when we come to it at the end. And then I've also done, so these are our little geometric-y ones, and these are, it's like you see a lot of shapes made with cut leaves or bare grass, sometimes in floral arrangements, so that's what one's trying to sort of echo here. I've done this with the dark green tape and 20 gauge wire, and I think it had 2 layers on it. I was sorely tempted with these to do the geometric shapes gold, but then actually decided to go white and green because that's always a really nice see, tape. I can do it either way, but the reason that I can do it either way is because I do this a lot, and if you're taping things like this, it hurts your hands so much that I've made sure I've learned to do it both ways, so that
can switch.
So that I can switch, give the other hand a little bit of a rest, basically. Yeah, there's another bit of tape on there. Sorry, guys. What does it say?
So Danielle says that she's made a few colours in it which has turned hard. He says, are they usable for cake toppers or should they be thrown out?
If you can still roll it out and do stuff with it, then go for it and use it. But once it's gone hard, it's very difficult to bring it back. And especially if you've got fondant with CMC in it, it'll be crumbly if you try to knead it once it's dried out. So yeah, if you can use it, go for it. But
if it's crumbly, no.
Yeah, then it's more effort than what it's worth, really. So for these, I drew a triangle on a piece of paper because it's easier to do it with a little template there. So yeah, just drew a triangle just with a ruler, as in 3 lines. I didn't measure anything in particular. So we'll lay it on, bend it in the one place so it's in the right angle, make the next bend, and with this one, because it wanted to be quite a sharp bend, I actually came and just pinched it with my, what are they, Chris? Pliers?
Yeah.
Like so. And then you just want to see, make a little mark with my nail there so that I know where to bend that bit. Like so, to make that triangle shape. And once you have that sorted, then you just want to take just another little piece of tape and tape these two together. You could, of course, make any shape out of this. You could sit and draw yourself a triangle or a pentagon or a hexagon, or squares, whatever you fancied. I went for the triangles with a view to having them. So with that one, and then this one, I want to bend just there a little bit more, like that, so that we get that shape, which I quite like, and I think is going to look quite different next to the flowers and stuff. So that was how they came. See, let's do the little buds first. So I think I want these to be a really nice sort of fresh green sort of colourings. So I have some fresh green. We might go for a little bit of tangy green. Grabbed some lime, and I've got the leaf green as well, just in case. Let's see how we go. So for these, I think I'll start off with a little bit of fresh green, and we'll just bring that up from the bottom, like so, and then maybe we'll follow that up there, maybe with a little bit of tangy green. No, I'm not sure about that. Maybe a bit of lime green. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's like quite fresh and bright is what one's after, I think. So let's just yeah, sorry, I'd wandered out of shot. That's my fault. I was chilled and doing it. What colour have you painted your kitchen, Alison?
What colour is ours?
It's like a nice deep green, somewhat halfway between in fact, it's almost, not entirely, it's this, but like, there's white walls as well. It's almost that colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit tealier. It's very exciting. And then, of course, you do one room and then you go around the whole house and you're like, I want to change this, I want to do that. Pray for Chris.
What for?
For the fact that I want to do all the things now.
No.
Right, these I want to keep a fairly dark green, so these are going to be a colour that sort of matches in with this. We've got the lighter green on our twiggy bits, and then of course we've got this lighter pop here, and obviously the white rose. So these I'm going to go fairly dark with, and I'm just going to do, I think, deep green, and I'll just bring that up from the bottom, because these ones I'm going to take them together as sort of a little fan shape. So I think a little bit of this all over, but a focus at the bottom, and we should get, you know, a nice shape from it. So it's funny, so I do eyeliner with my right hand, but I mascara with both hands. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, you just kind of get used to certain things.
Do you have a foot for playing football?
Me personally, or just generally footballers?
Well, I know people do, but do you? Or are you ambidextrous with that as well?
Somewhat. I was predominantly right-footed, but if I really wanted to hit a ball, I use my left.
Yeah. I was originally going to put a little bit of green on the rose, but actually I think now that it comes to it, I want to leave it completely crisp and completely white. But what I will do very quickly, because of how I plan to use and display it, is chuck a calyx underneath. So I'm just going to pop it on my petal pad there, and just going to ball tool it a little wider, and then the edges there, just to thin them out a wee bit. There we are. So having created those dips, that will be the inside, so that it you know, it does this around the rose. But what I will do is just chuck a calyx on. I'm just going to pop a little dust on it, and I'll do that now so that I don't run the risk of getting dust on the rose, which we don't want because it's white, obviously. So I'm just going to bring some of the deep green there up from the centre. That'll do it, I think. Actually, I'm going to use my Rapid Rose pad because that will help me not get green everywhere, I think. So we'll bring that up there. Perfect. And just stick that on. You know, we're not winning any prizes for the prizes for the quality of this calyx, but it'll do. And then I can just greenify the stem there. So I'll take the dark green. Dark green tape. Oh, I did not know that they are left and right footed. I mean, there's no reason why not. I'd imagine it's I suppose there's no reason why an animal wouldn't have a foot that they would naturally put out first when going up or down the stairs or doing something.
Just setting off.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to wind some extra tape around this top bit just to thicken it up a little bit. There we go. There's David Bellamy. Right.
He's an English botanist.
Oh, okay. So these I want to line up something like that so that we get that shape. And yeah, somebody said before there that like a bird of paradise. Do you know Snail? I was like, the cat with the beard but was enthusiastic. Then I realised you were talking about the botanist. So I think the easiest way to do this, because they're 20 gauge wire, because I wanted them nice and stiff, they're fairly chunky, so I'm just going to attach my tape to the first one and then add the second one in the right place, which is about there. and then I will add my third one about there. That's the shape we want, isn't it? It's almost a little bit Art Deco-y in terms of the shapes there and stuff. So that's kind of what they were about. Let me grab some. Oh, ow! It's my knee. Right, let me cut some of this down to half width, and we'll put those leaves together. You'd have gotten it from that. Is this one of those things, Chris, that I'm a bit young to know?
What?
David Bellamy.
No, you recognise him.
I did, yeah. Right. So these, I think, I'll start with sort of a straight one in the middle. So I'll get the tape nicely attached to that. And then I want to do one on the left and one on the right. And I've only brought it down just a tiny bit so that I get a fan shape. Usually when one's taping together leaves or making branches or whatever, I'm like, no, don't make a fan. You need to leave enough space. But for this, I do want a fan shape. And I think that the subsequent leaves, so the ones that are going either side, should sit a little bit behind the ones higher up than them. Something like this, because like I said, we're going after shape rather than anything else on this particular Sunday night. So yeah, I think something along these lines. And whilst I'm here, actually, I was going to splint a bit of 20 gauge wire on there because I know for a fact that I'm going to need that to be longer so that I can get it into the arrangement there. In my day, you'd have to have found a book and look him up. I mean, did they have TV in your day, Gina? Would they have been a... So I'm just taking the little ones and we're just doing a lefty and a righty. And these, you do want to bring the tape down and leave a bit of a gap, as you can see here, so that you get a growing thing, unlike that, which is a fan shape. Yeah, creepy girl with a clown. Just, yeah, made me chuckle. More white tape. More white tape. Oh. Yes, so more or less in size order, so that the littlest ones are at the top there. And having made a few of them, this is quite a long branch, but remember, we are after shapes, so I wanted a bit of length on it so that we'd be able to play with the shape it makes and the sort of what the shape of it will do to the space and items around it. So this is the last little bud, and again I'm going to splint on a bit of 20 gauge. There's some here. Alright, I'll use this bit as opposed to the piece that I fired across the room, just because I know I'm going to want this longer. And then finally, what I'll do with this, I'm just going to take some of that fresh green there and just dust up the stem. So because it was white, I can totally colour it up. A little bit of the lime, and then we've just got this. It's going to give us a bit of a pop of colour. So this is the let's put it together and see what happens bit. Yeah, so I think that this leaf is probably going to come down here somewhere, so that when we have Aha, actually, right. So this is where it all becomes a little bit, seeing what happens. So actually that leaf wants to be lower. So let's bring this tape round. Actually, let's finish that bit of tape and start a new bit. So that that can go on about there, I think. You can see plenty of tape and nice and tight so that it all holds itself together. And this we will bend a little bit more like that and bring it back. So there we are. So if he's there, then we'll have maybe have this sort of here, about there, I think. Maybe it sits. All right, maybe the rose is going to go on a little bit later on. So the twigs, right, I'm just going to tape these on. See, I don't know, this is either going to work and it's going to be very nice and elegant, or it will be thoroughly underwhelming. We will see. So basically, I want all my twiggy bits to swoop, right? So this is all about shape and form and things. So I've got a couple of other longish ones that I can crinkle up, and you can see I'm just sort of bending them at random. So he can slip in there with that one. Let's bend that leaf out of the way because it's right where I'm taping all of this and I don't want to break it. Some shorter ones that again can follow that same form. What I might do here is just quickly tape these two little ones together. Maybe I'll put the second one on up there, and then I've got a branch that sort of splits. So let's move that round just quickly. Right, and that can go sort of there. Again, I'll keep bringing the tape round at the bottom to attach it all. And actually, this is where it might be the case. Oh. See, so I quite like those. Oh, I just totally pulled that out of the tape. How annoying. Ugh. Right, this is one of those and with your extra hand moments. But I have a little bit of tape just here. So let's see about attaching that bit again. The wire at the bottom should have been longer so that I had a little bit more there to actually tape on and affix itself. But it also helps if you occasionally bring the tape all the way down so that it's held on by more than just a tiny little bit. So what I was going to say is that I do quite like the shapes of those twisty bits, and I quite like the twistiness next to the much sharper shape of those triangles there. This I had imagined spindling off kind of in that direction a bit, so I wonder what will happen if I were to tape that together. I've got a couple of bits of twig left. I would imagine in real life it's willow, because willow wiggles. So yeah, let's tape these together. Got a lump of tape just there. Do you know what I think the problem with this is going to be?
What?
Is that a rose is going to be the wrong flower for these shapes. That is my prediction. But I was hung up on doing a rose because I wanted to do a left-handed one, because I've been saying for weeks that I will, but we'd not sort of had a normal live, because we'd had Robin, we looked at those 3D cakes, we'd done all sorts of different things. So actually what I'll do is slip that in sort of there. Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think I can live with it here. So let me tape that one. Right, orchid, yes, something a little bit more exotic than a rose, I think, is what we're going to need. Unfortunately, I very rarely throw anything away, so I'm sure I'll be able to find something suitable. Ouch, my thumb goes. It's always this thumb there. Just from holding on to it, I think. Right, so yeah, see, and this is where, and this is like, this is where you get sort of designy on things. That bright green there sort of works. The majority of our spindly bits are coming and curving over this way. We've got the geometric shapes there, but do you see there's that one spindly bit here, and it sort of joins it all together so that it's not too random. And I think, I mean, look, it's not awful with the rose, not by any stretch, but I think, well, I think something a little bit more exotic. So look, there it would be with the rose, but do you want to swap the camera? Okay, maybe we'll vote. So tell us which one to attach. So this is an open rose, which, you see, that works for me, I gotta say. So that would be our open rose one there. Which, yeah, so vote for open rose if you wish. We can do a passion flower. Oh, actually,
the flower on its own, isn't it?
Well,
it's looking a bit busy.
It is, but actually what one would do would be to, right, let's pretend that doesn't exist. That kind of works, because we've got the line of the leaves from the passion flower there is aiming that way, whilst also having just a couple of leaves over here and leaving the rest of it exposed. So the passion flower's gone up the list from the rose for me, I have to say. Right, let's put that back where it belongs. Well, ish. Sort of there-ish, wasn't it? Was it? Give or take. That works.
I think the passion flower, the bird of paradise needs to be bigger though.
Yeah, maybe. Or more than one of it, or maybe it would sit that way. You see, so again, you could remove the leaves there, because the reason that I was like, oh, I need to include something with a leaf is just so that we had something with a block of colour, because I knew that I was going to do a relatively small rose for it there. But yeah, so you could have that. Equally, if you had the right design, I know one of you guys said it earlier about the triangles being a bit bird of paradisey. You could absolutely have, you know, those together with those triangles so that you go from being sort of flowers into something a lot more modern.
Yeah.
Especially
like the eschery things when they go
yeah.
shapes to birds or whatever.
And especially if you had these in an orange or you painted them copper or something like that, then that could be very cool and different there. And then our other option was to have, and these are very, very ancient. So I will just. Right, I'm not even gonna pick these up. We will just lay them. Orchids would absolutely work as well. Yeah, and I think the thing there is having something a little bit more tropical, and it's possibly because tropical plants. I could be talking out my backside here, but I think tropical plants tend to, if you think of, they tend to have more structure. So if you think like a bird of paradise, right? Huge things, huge spiky things. Their leaves are giant and spiky, and all the rest of it. What other tropically things are there? I don't know. It's roses. Yeah, the normal rose didn't do it. The orchids would work. Gina, I love that if it was the bird of paradise, it's almost as if it's moving in some way. There's sort of a graphic element to it because those the shapes are it's echoing the shape there. I think the orchids would totally work. Absolutely, the orchids would work. But I think we're going to have to. It's going to come down to a decision between the open rose, something like that, or indeed the passion flower.
I prefer the open rose.
I prefer the passion flower. That's really difficult. So not losing the brighter green of the leaves on that there. Well, so then the other option with this would be to effectively pull that out of the way so that you have, I mean, that also kind of works. A hibiscus would work, yeah. It's funny how it's sort of, because people say, oh, what flowers go with what leaves and things, and it's like, well, kind of anything you want, but actually there are rules, and they're rules that I think it would be difficult to write down, but sometimes it's just not appropriate. Yeah. I think the passion flower is all the open. See, I can't decide. You got a coin?
Have I got a coin?
Yeah.
No.
Because you've said one thing, I've said the other. I think there's probably a few more for the passion flower there.
Flicker. Lumix or non-lumix?
I don't know. Although I really like the passion flower.
No, that's in like flip a coin.
Yeah, no, I know. All right, I'll have the side with the writing. Oh, I won. So we'll go for, all right, let's just, right, but so the whole purpose of this was to think about the different shapes and stuff, right? Chris, we didn't have a coin to flip, but he flipped the lens cap of the camera.
I did.
Which has an up and a down side. And so, yeah, shapes. Things other than just leaves and stuff. As you can see, trying the different flowers, actually I'm really glad that I didn't like the rose with it, because it gave us the opportunity to do that. And also there has to be some bloody purpose to how many hundreds of flowers I've got sitting here. You can of course bring colour into it. I didn't want to, I wanted to go for that sort of white and green so that the shapes were the main thing. Because like we said, you've got a very structured thing in terms of the shapes there, which I went for triangles. You could have squares, you can have different shapes of triangle. I'm sitting here, I'm like, what other shapes are there? It's ridiculous. Primary school children could do this. You get the idea. You can make any sort of shapes. And I do quite like, as with this, the offset of it. So you could, these aren't the same size, but they're hexagons. But yeah, like how that's, instead of having them, you do something, you make one smaller than the other, you offset them, whatever, so that you can see the shape and the form, and it creates patterns. A bit like a spirograph. Do you remember a spirograph?
I do, yeah.
Which is what they did. But yeah, so the harshness of that, and then these twiggy bits that are very free, and for me that's hard work to make things be loosey-goosey. I tend to like a little bit more structure. But they needed that, and then that sharp bit. And do you know why actually the passion flower works there? Because I think the purple and everything's really dark, so that sits with the dark leaves. But then your centre with these yellow bits sits nicely with the string of buds there, and it needed something with a bit of shape to it. So yeah, there we go. That's a, and I do think, I don't know which. You could sit and play with it for days and days and days. Yes, exactly, Sam. That they're the same thing, right? So yeah, that was our kind of. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial with me today. Don't forget, all the links are in the description below. Give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube, and we will see you again very soon indeed.